Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. It's Football at 4.
It's Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast here on the Sports Bash. And it is brought to you today by the Atlantic City Airport. Plan your next vacation now. Spirit Airlines is offering nonstop flights from Atlantic City International Airport to Boston, Atlanta, San Juan, Miami, and other exciting destinations. Visit spirit.com. Adam Caplan is back, and we've got a big trade in the NFL today. It happens on a random Wednesday, Adam Caplan. So I guess we'll start with that because people have been waiting for Baker Mayfield to get traded. He's heading to Carolina, a spot that many people thought would make sense. You now have Baker Mayfield, the first pick, Sam Darnold, the third pick, Matt Corral, who they took this year in the third round. So a lot of quarterbacks, but Baker Mayfield, and they didn't give up all that much to get him, did Carolina?
Yeah, it's a conditional 24 draft pick, which I believe is a fourth-round pick. He's got to pass the physical. Remember, Mayfield had surgery on his left shoulder. I'm told he's okay. He should be ready to go at the end of the month when they start training camp. But, yeah, look, the Browns and Panthers have talked since March. Late March, and talks were on and off, and what I'm told is the Panthers are at the point where they're like, this is such a good deal for them, where they're only paying him, I'm told, $4.85 million in salary. That's it. And the Browns are paying the rest of it. Now Darnold and Mayfield have the same exact base salary, $18.858 million. The Browns are responsible for the rest of the cash and whatever their agreement is with the rest of the salary with Mayfield and his agents. But the Panthers, I'm told, are only paying $4.85 million, and that's it. So the Panthers are going this wide open, and it's a wide open competition. I fully expect Mayfield to win it, but he's got to go win it. And they want an upgrade this season because the Panthers, Mike, they've done a lot this offseason. They feel like the roster's really improved. They significantly addressed their bad offensive line, which is one of the worst in the National Football League. They're going to have a minimum of 3 new starters. They're good at receiver. They're good at running back. They have a good defense. They had some guys hurt last season who are back. They just feel like this is maybe the missing element for them to be a playoff team.
Right. I mean, for the people out there, Baker Mayfield was hurt last year, but he played through that shoulder injury that you kind of talked about, that he had that shoulder, but he played through the season, and it's one of the reasons why that Browns season didn't go the way they had hoped.
Yeah, it's such a shame that Mayfield got hurt because he was so good 2 years ago with Kevin Stefanski, the head coach. And, look, he was hurt. He got hurt in week 2. He was never the same. He had a bad shoulder, and he had some other injuries, I'm told. But he tried to play through it, which, quite frankly, they should have shut him down. He physically just did not look right. And they've moved on. They've got Deshaun Watson as their quarterback.
We think.
We'll see. We don't know when he'll be able to play. That's the problem the Browns have right now.
Yeah, I mean, that whole situation there, they would be spending money on Mayfield, spending money on Watson, only to see Jacoby Brissett possibly start for them. That would be a disastrous situation in Cleveland.
Yeah, and Brissett right now is absolutely the starter. Now, I'd be stunned if they didn't add a quarterback by mid-August. I mean, it's Watson, who could be suspended. It's Brissett, who's up next, then Josh Dobbs, who's just a journeyman who's clearly not a starting quarterback at this level. Yeah, it's not good. You went from the Browns, who shocked the world, won a playoff game 2 years ago, blew out the Browns and blew out the Steelers, and now you look at the fact that they moved off of they've moved on from Mayfield and Watson, who could be suspended for the season. We don't know yet. We won't know probably for at least a couple more weeks where that's headed.
I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to see how Carolina runs this. You got 3 quarterbacks, 3 preseason games. These teams don't like playing their quarterback in preseason games. That should be a fun one to watch. And then I guess the last team, Seattle, are they going to stick with what they got, or do they get into the quarterback fray now, or is it a Drew Lock versus Geno Smith battle out there? I guess that's really the last team that has a quarterback question.
Yeah, my understanding was they had no interest in trading for him. They would have had some interest had the Browns released him. Mayfield, the Browns, I'm told, would have taken this thing with Mayfield as far as they could take it. They just would have kept him away from the complex and see how long it would take them to trade him. They got what they could. Yes, it's Drew Lock and Geno Smith. I'm told that Drew Lock is a heavy favorite to win that job. The Seahawks have not ruled out bringing someone else in, but right now they're they're looking at Drew Lock being that guy. And what I know about that situation, Mike, is in 2019, Pete Carroll and particularly John Schneider were very high on him. Schneider, the GM, Carroll, the head coach. Carroll has personnel control. They really liked him for that draft. Now they got him in the trade, as we know, in the Russell Wilson trade.
All right, let's look at the NFC East. Yesterday we took a couple of key questions at the Giants. Let's look at Dallas here. 12-5, won the division. This is a team last year that covered more times than anybody in the NFL. They were 13-4 against the spread, so they were a dominant regular season team. But as most Cowboys teams have been over the last, 30 years, they disappointed in the playoffs. So let's start with the running back, Zeke Elliott. They got that monster contract, but are we beginning to see the end of Elliott and his job in Dallas?
You have to really wonder with the accumulation of touches. This is a big reason why the Eagles have, and quite frankly, Keith Byers is more fullback. You're talking about 36, 37 years since the Eagles took a running back in the first round. Keith Byers is really a fullback. It's because organizationally they just don't believe in the value of taking a running back that early. Though I had reported the night of the 17 draft that the Eagles were going to take McCaffrey had he been there, but of course he never was there. He wasn't even close. He went to the Panthers much earlier in the first round. But Elliott, Mike, turns 27 in just a couple weeks on the 22nd. He is an old 27. That's the way the league looks at him. You wonder about him wearing down. How many carries could he handle? And by the way, they could walk away from his contract and not owe him a dime. The guaranteed contract after the season, the guaranteed money, expires. So this could be it for him. He's going to have to play well to come back in 2022. And he also could be looking at a pay cut depending on how he performs. And by the way, Tony Pollard, his backup, who's one of the best backup running backs in the National Football League, he's on the last year of his rookie contract.
So if Zeke Elliott's going to have a successful year, and Pollard as well, they're going to have to run behind an offensive line. But are there issues up front for Dallas?
Yeah, and they're going to have a minimum of two changes. Their left tackle, Tyron Smith, is back. He's had back problems in his career. He's in his 30s. Zach Martin's back at right guard, and Biadash, the center's back. But they're going to have a new left guard. They're going to have a new right tackle. Tyler Smith, their first-round pick, was drafted to replace Tyron Smith eventually. He's a project who they're going to cross-train at guard. He's a guy that has got a lot of ability, but is very raw. So it's going to take him time to get up to speed. So I'll tell you what, and I mentioned this yesterday with you when we talked about the Giants. If you're going to win against the Dallas Cowboys offensive line, you're going to do it at left guard. You have a chance to beat them at right tackle. By the way, the Eagles defensive line matches up really well against this Dallas offensive line.
Wide receiver, obviously, they lost a key wide receiver last year, so you got some changes to the wide receiver group. Still pretty good, though. Yeah, well,
here's the issue. So, yes, they traded Amari Cooper. They were done with him. They found that he wouldn't have come back one way or the other. They would have cut him if they couldn't trade him. Michael Gallup was going to replace him towards ACL. They're hopeful for week one. They don't know yet if he'll be ready. CeeDee Lamb's role as a slot receiver will grow. Right now, they don't know who's going to play opposite him. Early on, James Washington came over for Pittsburgh. He's more of a fourth or third receiver. Noah Brown has been there. He's a journeyman. He's been there since 17. He's just a backup. Fehoko is a big possession receiver. He was a fifth-rounder last year out of Stanford. He didn't really play. Jalen Tolbert is the third-rounder this year from South Alabama, who I saw at the Senior Bowl. So other than CeeDee Lamb, who's a good player, it's going to change over here. They don't have Amari Cooper. So, Mike, that's another area where they're going to have to figure out ways to get other guys to football other than CeeDee Lamb and wide receiver.
Yeah, we'll see CeeDee Lamb kind of now be the guy there with Cooper. He's in Cleveland, remember. All right, on the defensive side of the ball, where is a weak spot on that Cowboy defense, which, I thought was much improved, and Parsons got so much attention. Where's a spot, though, that can be exploited?
Yeah, well, Parsons is an absolute superstar. We didn't know when he was drafted out of Penn State he'd be this good of a pass rusher. He was a defensive end, I remember, in high school. He changed positions at Penn State. He's unbelievable, and give Dan Quinn, their defense coordinator, credit. The area where you beat them, yes, they have depth at corner. They are very beatable. Stephon Diggs' younger brother, Trayvon, gives up a lot of big plays. He makes plays. He gives up plays. Jordan Lewis, who's their third corner, who's physical. He's not real fast. Anthony Brown's a backup corner. Kelvin Joseph, who was a second-rounder last year, didn't play very much. They have high hopes for him. He's got good size, but that's a group that's very beatable. Jaron Kearse is their strong safety who covers the tight end, who's revived his career, one of the tallest safeties in football. Their hope is that Malik Hooker shows that he could play at a high level. Former first-rounder for the Colts has been hurt a lot. They have talent in the secondary, Mike, but they're very beatable. That's to answer your question. If you could protect, Dallas is good at DN. They're not very good at D-tackle. You can make some plays. That's a beatable defense, but you got to be able to protect.
So is the strength that secondary? Would you say that's still the strength of the team then?
I think it's upside, but it's beatable. I think the strength is DeMarcus Lawrence, if he could stay healthy. They brought in Dante Fowler, who played for Dan Quinn in Atlanta. They've got Mark Parsons as a pass rusher. They'll figure it out. They'll get a pass rush. If you can protect, I'm going after that secondary. That's just the way that I see it.
Yeah, and then Parsons, what they've been able to do with him is very unique, right? They can move him all over the place. Linebacker, DN. That's what makes him such a tough – that's what makes their defense tough to kind of prepare for because you don't know what they're going to do with him.
Yeah, he's a wild card. He's a joker. A joker's a player that you line up at different positions. Jim Johnson used to do this, the late, great Jim Johnson with the Eagles many years. They'll do that with him. Parsons is, I know Parsons talking about being an MVP. Look, at this point, based on the way he played last season as a rookie, sky's the limit for this kid. He's awesome. I'm looking forward to see what he does in year two. I don't know how much better he can be. I mean, he was incredible. But boys, he is dominant. He's a homewrecker, man. That's the kind of guy for the Eagles. You have to have a plan for him when he's on the other side.
Yeah, because he's one of them guys like, I'm not comparing it like Lawrence Taylor or Andre Tippett, those outside linebackers in like the 80s that just lined up and just tortured teams. I felt like every time you played Dallas, he was just torturing you, but he was coming from all different spots, not just lining up outside of it. He went down, he was up, he was inside, he was out. I mean, just a unique player. What a fun kid to watch.
Yeah, he is. He's special, no doubt about it. If you're a Cowboys fan, listen to Mike and I. You've got one here. They got that one right already. I'm willing to say they got it right after just one season. He is unbelievably special, but he has to be because Dante Fowler was cut by Atlanta. People wonder around the league how good he is. They drafted Sam Williams in the second round, who's probably more of a stand-up linebacker. He's got a lot of ability, but again, he is a rookie. DeMarcus Lawrence has had a lot of injuries. He's been on the downward slide the last couple of years. Remember, he was drafted in 2014, so he's been in the league a long time now. But they've got a lot of talent and got a good scheme with Dan Quinn. They'll give some teams some fits, but they've shown if you could protect, you could beat this defense.
There's a look at Dallas, 12-5. Now, real quick, do you think that team, 12-5, won the division, is better this year, or was last year's team better? Did they miss their opportunity last year?
Well, that was a bad loss they had home against the Niners. They were just not in sync. That's when you started hearing the whispers about Mike McCarthy's job security. Don't forget about him at tight end, who's on a franchise tag. He's a good football player. Do I think they're as good? I'm worried about them at wide receiver. That their ability to score is going to be a problem because Michael Gallup, who's terrific and explosive, he's coming off a bad injury. You can't expect him to be the same coming off the ACL injury. And remember, that happened late last season. I think they're slightly off last year's team. And remember, we haven't had a back-to-back champ in, Mike, 18 years.
Right.
So I'm going against it. We're not turning our picks until late August, but, man, the Eagles are looking really good right now.
All right. Adam Caplan, Inside the Birds podcast, Thursday morning, tomorrow, 6 a.m. Get the new one, InsideTheBirds.com and all the Inside the Birds platform. Adam, appreciate it, bud.
Thank you.
All right, Adam is back next week. Moshe is on Friday, and tomorrow our division previews continue. We'll go to the NFC North with Andrew DeCecco here on the Sports Bash.